Tonight, several breaking stories as we come on the air. The well-known actress found dead in her New York City apartment by her mother. What we've learned. President Trump's first meeting with his cabinet calling on Elon Musk first. The measles outbreak in the U.S. turning deadly now. The first child to die from measles in a decade. So what's going on? First tonight, President Trump meeting with his cabinet for the first time. Elon Musk standing over the room, describing what his team is doing. And tonight, President Trump's new message for the million federal workers who haven't responded to that email, asking for the 5 things you've done at work in the last week or risk getting fired. Also tonight, the stunning death of a well-known actress found in her New York apartment, Michelle Trachtenberg, known for her roles in Gossip Girl and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It was her mother who discovered the body and what authorities believe happened. Tonight, the dramatic turn, California's governor and his bombshell move involving the Menendez brothers. Tonight, the measles outbreak in the U.S. turning deadly, a child becoming the first patient in a decade to die of measles in the U.S. The disease had been eradicated in the U.S. in 2000, so what's driving this? President Trump's blunt message to Ukraine tonight about joining NATO, telling them, quote, forget about it. It comes as President Zelenskyy plans to visit the White House this week. Tonight, the heists here in the U.S., multiple freight trains targeting millions of dollars worth of Nike sneakers. What makes them so valuable? Thieves striking at least 10 times. The images coming in the small plane crashing into a mountain in the Northeast. Rescuers braving difficult conditions. Tonight, the airline facing questions after passengers say they were forced to sit next to a dead body on the plane for hours in mid-flight. And tonight, our Will Reeve on a journey that first began with his father, actor Christopher Reeve, retracing his father's steps, where it led him, and what Will discovered right here tonight.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. It's great to have you with us here on a very busy Wednesday night. The sad discovery of a well-known actress in New York City in her apartment, known from Gossip Girl and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What we've learned here in just a moment. But we do begin tonight with the scene playing out with President Trump and his cabinet and Elon Musk called on first. It was the president's first cabinet meeting, the president inviting cameras in for more than an hour. His cabinet secretaries sitting around the table, largely silent. The president first turning the floor over to Elon Musk, who defended his demand that some 2 million federal workers list what they've done at work in the last week or risk being fired. And tonight, President Trump's new message to the million workers who haven't responded. ABC's chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce was in the room. She leads us off.
Elon Musk didn't have a seat at the table at President Trump's first cabinet meeting, the world's richest man sitting off to the side. Still, Trump making it clear Musk is the MVP, calling on him first.
So I'm going to ask if it's possible to have Elon get up first and talk about Doge.
As cabinet secretaries looked on, Musk standing to address the cameras.
The overall goal here with the Doge team is to help address the enormous deficit. We simply cannot sustain as a country $2 trillion deficits.
Sources tell us Musk has ruffled feathers within the cabinet. Today, the president all but daring secretaries to speak up.
Hey, Elon, let the cabinet speak just for a second. Is anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, we'll throw him out of here. Is everybody unhappy? We have a lot of respect for Elon and that he's doing this, and some disagree a little bit, but I will tell you, for the most part, I think everyone's not only happy, they're thrilled.
But several cabinet secretaries have objected to Musk's order to the more than 2 million federal workers. Send an email listing 5 things you accomplished last week or lose your job. Several departments telling workers it's voluntary or instructing them not to respond at all.
I think that email perhaps was misinterpreted as a performance review, but actually it was a pulse check review. Do you have a pulse?
The White House says more than 1 million employees have responded, roughly half of all federal workers.
Does that mean that the remaining 1 million or so federal employees now risk being terminated?
I guess there was like last week, the president encouraged me via Truth Social and also via phone call to be more aggressive. And I was like, okay, yes, sir, Mr. President, we will indeed do that. Our goal is not to be capricious or unfair. We want to give people every opportunity to send an email. And the email could simply be, what I'm working on is too sensitive or classified to describe.
Then the president jumping in.
Anyway, I'd like to add that those million people that haven't responded, though, Elon, they are on the bubble. You know, I wouldn't say that we're thrilled about it. Maybe they're going to be gone.
It comes as Trump and Musk lay the groundwork to dramatically downsize the federal workforce. The administration today directing all federal agencies to submit plans for large-scale layoffs and restructuring by March 13th. The president saying the Environmental Protection Agency could cut a full 65% of its workforce. The president fielding questions for over an hour, but only calling on 3 other cabinet secretaries and briefly the vice president. But Trump did make one thing clear. When he gives an order, he expects his team to follow it.
Oh, yeah, they'll follow the orders, yes, they will.
No exceptions?
No exception. Well, let's see, let me think. Oh, yeah. She'll have an exception. Of course, no exceptions. You know that.
And the president today signing more executive orders to expand DOGE's cost-cutting efforts. David, in that room today, the power of Elon Musk and this administration on full display. David.
Mary Bruce, who was in that meeting today. Mary, thank you. We turn next tonight to the tragic discovery in New York City, the death of actress Michelle Trachtenberg, the young star of Gossip Girl and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She was found dead in her apartment by her mother. She was just 39. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Tonight, the sudden death of a young Hollywood star discovered in her New York City apartment.
I hear you told her a little secret. That's the way you want to play it? That's how we'll play it.
Michelle Trachtenberg, best known for her iconic roles on Gossip Girl.
This is supposed to be her happiest day, that I can't wait to rain all over her parade.
And Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Buffy, you have to let me go.
Rising to fame as a child in The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
What happened?
Police sources tell ABC News her mother found the 39-year-old unconscious and unresponsive just after 8 this morning in the actress's Midtown apartment steps from Central Park. No foul play is suspected. Sources say the actress died of natural causes and may have suffered complications from a recent liver transplant. Her breakout role as Harriet the Spy.
A veggie thief. This must be investigated thoroughly.
Rosie O'Donnell, who starred alongside Trachtenberg in that movie, calling her death heartbreaking, adding, "I loved her very much." Tonight, fans are stunned.
I loved her in that movie. She was a kid, and I used to watch it as a kid.
Kim Cattrall sharing this photo from the set of Ice Princess and this message, "Rest in peace, sweet Michelle." Even though her death is not considered suspicious, David, the medical examiner's office will investigate to determine how Trachtenberg died. David.
Aaron Katursky live here in New York. Aaron, thank you. We turn now to the bombshell new move involving the Menendez brothers and what it means for their potential freedom. Tonight, California's Governor Gavin Newsom ordering the state parole board to conduct a comprehensive risk assessment of whether the brothers would pose an unreasonable risk to the public if they were released. Is the governor preparing to set them free? Here's Matt Gutman.
After 35 years behind bars for the shotgun murders of their parents, tonight a giant first step toward possible clemency for the Menendez brothers. In a surprise move, Governor Gavin Newsom fast-tracking a parole board assessment of the risks of their release from prison.
The question for the board is a rather simple one. Do Eric and Lyle Menendez, do they pose a current, what we call unreasonable risk to public safety?
In a letter obtained by ABC News, the governor says he'll weigh the impact on victims and survivors, the brothers' self-development in prison, and their use of available rehabilitative programs. And it comes just days after LA's new DA, Nathan Hochman, announced his opposition to a new trial for the murder of their parents, Kitty and Jose Menendez, casting doubt on the brothers' claim of sexual abuse by their father.
Do you personally now believe that they were not sexually abused by at least Jose Menendez?
They absolutely testified to it in great detail. I also understand that when it came to any corroborating information about that sexual abuse, it was extremely lacking.
Sources close to the governor tell ABC News Newsom considers Hochman's skepticism of their sexual abuse a mistake. Last week, the brothers talked to TMZ's podcast, Two Angry Men, about their plans to help survivors of childhood abuse.
I am passionate about wanting to speak out and work with survivors of childhood trauma and find new ways for us to heal, speak out, and prevent that type of trauma from happening to other people.
The Menendez family, who are also victims in this case, pushing for their release for years, spearheaded by Kitty Menendez's own 93-year-old sister, Joan.
Lyle and Eric have already paid a heavy price. They have changed, and they have become better men, despite everything that they've been through.
David, that newly elected DEA has opposed a new trial for the brothers, but tells me he hasn't yet made a decision on resentencing them. But I'm told that sources close to Governor Gavin Newsom say that his move today was meant to pressure the DEA to recommend resentencing for the brothers. But even if that does happen, it could still be months before they're released. David.
All right, Matt Gutman in L.A. Matt, thank you. Tonight, the measles outbreak in the U.S. has now turned deadly. A child in Texas has now died. The first death from measles in the U.S. in a decade. ABC's Mireya Villarreal from Texas tonight.
Tonight, Texas health officials on high alert. Some clinicians seen in hazmat suits. The state reporting the first measles death in the country in a decade. The patient, a school-aged child who was not vaccinated, dying overnight in Lubbock County.
This is a big deal. We are now seeing a very serious consequence of what happens when we have measles in our community.
The Texas Department of Health now reporting 124 cases, most of them in West Texas. Nearly all of those infected, children under the age of 17, and most are unvaccinated or vaccination status unknown. Daycares watching closely for symptoms like fevers, rashes, and white spots inside the mouth.
Newborn babies, they don't receive the vaccine until they're 1 year old.
Children can't get the second measles dose to be fully vaccinated until they're 4.
What concerns you most about what we are seeing right now? I'm mostly concerned that the measles, it's probably the most contagious virus disease in children that we can see.
Today, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has promoted anti-vaccine views, saying he is closely following the cases, but calling the outbreak not unusual, even with the first death in a decade now reported.
We're going to continue to follow it. It's incidentally, there have been 4 measles outbreaks this year. In this country last year, there were 16. So it's not unusual. We have measles outbreaks every year.
David, while Texas does require vaccinations, it also allows for parental and religious exemptions. And we've also just confirmed with health officials an adult case that was in Rockwall County, which is just about 30 minutes from where we're standing right now in Dallas. David?
Mireya Villarreal monitoring this in Dallas for us. Mireya, thank you. Tonight, with Ukraine's President Zelenskyy set to visit the White House this Friday. President Trump today delivering a blunt message about Ukraine joining NATO before Zelenskyy even gets here, saying, quote, forget about it. Here's Martha Raddatz.
Tonight, President Trump announcing that he and Ukraine's President Zelenskyy will meet face-to-face on Friday to sign what he called a very big agreement. The outline of the agreement establishing a reconstruction investment fund, which would call for Ukraine to share its mineral wealth as a payback for past U.S. aid. But the president said today the U.S. will make no security guarantees to Ukraine.
We're going to have Europe do that because it's in, we're talking about Europe is their next door neighbor.
President Trump, who has refused to say that Russia was the aggressor in this war and has baselessly called Zelenskyy a dictator, today called Vladimir Putin very smart and very cunning, although he did say Putin would have to make concessions in any peace deal.
What concessions would you like to see?
Oh, I don't want to tell right now, but I can tell you that NATO you can forget about.
That would be a concession for Ukraine, not Russia, but Trump insisted the deal would be good for all sides. President Trump also said for the first time that it's possible that a peace agreement will not work out after previously saying he could end the war within 24 hours. David?
All eyes on that meeting with Zelenskyy later this week. Martha Raddatz tonight. Thank you, Martha. Now to the dramatic heists here in the U.S. Thieves making off with millions of dollars worth of Nike sneakers, targeting freight trains in multiple states. Here's Mola Lenghi.
Tonight, authorities sounding the alarm after multiple freight train robberies targeting shipments of Nike sneakers in remote areas of the desert Southwest. The most recent heist, January 13th in Perrin, Arizona. Thieves allegedly using this box truck, grabbing nearly 2,000 pairs of brand new unreleased Nike sneakers, Nigel Sylvester X Air Jordan 4s, worth $400,000. Thanks to tracking devices inside some of the cargo, 11 people were arrested. In November, near Amboy, California, robbers boarding a train and grabbing $200,000 worth of Nikes, found in the back of this U-Haul in Anaheim the next day. 7 people taken into custody, according to police.
They get on it, they cut a brake line, stop that train, and it's basically a shopper's delight. It's stopping that train and then breaking into the container trailers on the train.
According to an LA Times investigation, at least 10 heists since last March, all involving BNSF cargo trains, netting more than $2 million in stolen Nikes. Authorities say criminal gangs linked to the Sinaloa cartel are behind the thefts.
Well, David, some of these Nike sneakers are collectibles and can fetch thousands of dollars on the resale market, making them an attractive target for thieves. David?
Yeah, quite something. Mola, thank you. When we come back, the small plane crashing into a mountain in the Northeast, rescuers braving difficult conditions to reach those on board. There are survivors. And tonight, our Will Reeve on a journey that first began with his father, actor Christopher Reeve, retracing his father's steps and what Will discovered. You'll see it right here tonight. Tonight, the small plane crashing into a mountain in Vermont. The 3 people on board survived this. Rescuers trudging through 4 feet of snow across rugged terrain. The survivors with only minor injuries. When we come back, the airline facing questions tonight. Passengers say they were forced to sit next to a dead passenger for hours during the flight. And later, our Will Reeve, retracing his father, actor Christopher Reeve's steps. To the Index, and tonight, Qatar Airways is facing questions following the death of a passenger during a flight from Australia to Qatar. Passengers say the woman collapsed and died during the 14-hour flight. The couple says flight attendants were unable to move her, then placing her in an empty seat next to them, covering her with a blanket for 4 hours until the plane landed. The airline tonight says it has spoken with passengers affected. When we come back here tonight, our Will Reeve on a journey that his father, actor Christopher Reeve, began years ago, and what Will found in a moment. Finally tonight here, our Will Reeve, the son of actor Christopher Reeve, on a journey that his father began years ago, and what Will found in going back right here tonight.
My father was my hero. To millions, he was Superman. I idolized and miss a different Christopher Reeve. Dad. When I was a toddler, he filmed a documentary following the migration of the Pacific gray whale. My dad always lived a life of perpetual motion, epic adventure.
Let's go over and see him, see how he's been doing.
But this was his last great expedition before he was paralyzed when I was just 2 years old. He then died of complications from his injury when I was 12. For 30 years now, I've dreamed of taking a journey to the last places he visited before his accident. The destination, San Ignacio Lagoon in Baja, Mexico.
You got it.
Dad had shared stories of a legendary fisherman here, Pachico Mireya, my dad's host in San Ignacio. Pachico died over a decade ago. His son, Pancho, now running the family ecotourism business.
Hi, Pancho. Will Reeve.
Oh, you look like your father.
So do you. Do you remember my dad coming here?
Oh, absolutely.
What do you remember of it?
I gotta say, he was super cool.
Hi, little one. Hello. Oh, there's my eye. That's just gorgeous. Hello. Oh, my God. Wow. I touched her. It's so soft. I'm amazed at how kind of soft the skin is. I was wondering if I were crazy and strange, reaching out, being like, hey, I want to come find my dad here, in a way. You didn't find that weird. You found that to be actually your experience.
It's a way to honor our fathers.
I feel the same way.
Two sons honoring their dads, a personal and powerful journey. Will Reeve, Finding My Father, premieres tonight, 10 Eastern here on ABC, and it streams on Hulu. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.